infectiousness, I am wearing this mask. I would like to welcome you to South Church this morning, to this place of heart and deepening soul, to this place of opening and questioning, to this place of learning and growth. I want to welcome you, whether you've been coming for so long you have lost count, or whether this is your first time here. If it is, there is a form I think is in the pews that you can fill out. If not, you can ask me afterwards. Welcome, whoever you are, whatever you believe, wherever you've been, or whatever is happening in your life these days. We explore the gift of heritage this month, and today, the Sunday before Indigenous Peoples Day, we explore some of the troubling history of the founding of this nation and how developing a new relationship with that past might help us to live more fully in the present. Part of facing that history includes naming that this beautiful, wonderful sanctuary in which we gather was built upon land first stewarded by the Abenaki and Pennacook nations who did not cede this land, who are still here and for whom full justice remains elusive. What do we do with that? Easy answers are also elusive, but I hope that naming this truth will prompt us all to learn more, dig deeper, and ask ourselves what we can set right here and in other parts of our lives. I invite you to take a look at your order of service, which lists all the wonderful people involved in making our service happen today, both those visible and up front and those behind the scenes who make worship possible week after week. Please note that after the children's story, Kate Phelps and Chris Redmond will offer a religious education opportunity for the youngest among us. Just follow them down the aisle after the children's story. And every one of us are invited to stay for fellowship right outside these doors. Nope, right downstairs for coffee and treats and conversation. And my challenge to you this week is to talk to someone you do not know well and ask them this crucial question: where is the best leaf peeping? Yeah, and when? Important questions to think about. Please note that assisted listening devices and large print hymnals are available in the back of the sanctuary. Please ask an usher if you need assistance. Please silence your cell phone if you have one. It is now time for some announcements.
It is time for some announcements. So just because I see her face, Linda Myers-Tierney stopped by the office on Friday and taught me a lovely little phrase that has been stuck in my head since Friday, and it's joy snack, right? So I did a little something on Friday. I had a really tough day and was doing lots of things and needed to take a break. And Linda said, oh, that's a joy snack, when you just take a little something. So there are so many joy snacks in your order of service. That's where I was going with that. You need a little joy snack? Sign up for a circle supper. Come to the spiritual book group. Join our Journey to Membership class. There's lots of things happening, lots of information in your order of service. Two quick things I do want to name is that today, immediately after worship, there is two things. There is a pocket garden tour meeting. We just finished the 34th pocket garden tour, and we're already planning the 35th and are talking about scouting for gardens. So I do believe Brad is one of our scouting folks. So you'll see Brad downstairs, and I think there's some other people around. And also today, after service, is the first meeting of our cancer support group, which is being led by the wonderful Ann Sherpick. Ann, can wave your hand? So Ann will be meeting downstairs as well. So if you are a cancer survivor, caretaker, somebody who has, nope, I'm getting the waves that it's not today. I'm sorry, it's Ann Mackin, not Ann Sherpick. Just kidding. You guys are sitting like in such a line where I'm looking at both of you. I am sorry, it's Ann Mackin in the purple in the back that is leading the cancer support group. And that is also meeting downstairs. But do check out your order of service. And there are also brochures in your pews, fall brochures that have some tidbits of information. And that's that. Do you want to grab your mic?
This is not the first time I've stood up here and talked about why I pledged to South Church. I know this because I looked through my computer files to see if there was something I could recycle rather than have to take the time to be thoughtful about why I'm still pledging to South Church. They were interesting to read. One talked about how I believe that giving is a part of our personal and public commitment as members of this congregation. I still believe that. And the other was about how many gifts I have received from this place and how I wish always that I were in a financial position to give a whole lot more. And I still feel that way. But also, in the intervening years, and in no small part due to the growth and maturity I derive from my interactions with all of you, I've come to feel that in so many areas of my life, it is just so very easy to talk the talk. And more, that's just not so satisfying. I want to walk the walk. I want to be proactive in living out the values I claim to espouse. I want to know what it feels like to practice generosity, to support the people and places I claim to love, to do my part in ensuring the financial stability of the institutions with whom I choose to connect, to stand up and be counted, and to really, truly put my money where my mouth is. So, even though my income is not increasing, my pledge amount for 2024 is, as I challenge myself to reorder the priorities in my personal spending and budgeting. I hope you'll join me on this path. It's interesting. The mechanics are easy enough. You can just point your phone camera at the QR code in your order of service. And then you can see how we're doing with this annual budget campaign by looking at the bulletin board downstairs, which will show all of our hands reaching for a dollar goal that supports the proposed budget and all of our participation in this vital part of our life together. Thank you.
Open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart, open my heart, let me be my heart, open my heart to all that I seek. Let me be part of the love you give. Open my heart, open my heart, open my heart, open my heart.
As we light the chalice here in the sanctuary, we invite those of you who are watching online, wherever you are, to light a chalice there also. And we light the chalice to these words adapted from the work of Reverend Eric Walker Wickstrom. We are part of a great web of life, though we sometimes forget. Here today, in this place, with these people, may we listen to what we hear. May we hear so we can feel. May we feel so we can know, and may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. Please rise as you are able and join me in reciting the mission statement of South Church. It's in your order of service or on your screen. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people and inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community. Thank you. In 1980, my grandmother was digging in her garden at York Harbor when she came upon a rock in the shape of an arrow. It was black with a few white lines running through it, similar to many that you'll see in the area. And after her gardening was done that day, she went to her desk, and on a small piece of cardboard, she wrote, YH Garden 1980. And she taped this message to the back of the rock, and it's there still. After her death, my uncle found that arrowhead, and he placed it in one of the small drawers in his desk. When I inherited my uncle's desk, I also inherited the arrowhead. When I first opened the drawer and discovered it, I was so excited. I'd never owned an arrowhead before, and it felt different from other rocks that I had collected. I imagined it carried with it a special energy from the lives of the people who had shaped it, carried it, and used it. It had a life and a meaning beyond its rockness. But even though this arrowhead rocks felt special to me, I placed it back in the drawer of the desk, and I forgot about it until I moved last year and gave the desk to Jen. But I kept the arrowhead. As I became reacquainted with the arrowhead, I realized that I had changed over the intervening years, and it was no longer just an arrowhead to me. It now represented living people whose ancestors used this rock. So I began to question my ownership of this relic. I knew robbing graves of the deceased's possessions was wrong, but randomly finding it when you're digging a garden, I was thinking, well, that's okay to keep it, right? So I started talking to friends, all who are non-Indigenous, and they told me it was okay, but I couldn't quite make peace with that decision. Didn't sit right. So I tried to imagine how I would feel if I was an Indigenous person and I knew of a white person who held an artifact of my ancestors. And of course, I can't know how that would feel. I can only use my experience of life as a white woman to imagine it. And I imagined that I would feel like, once again, I was being robbed of part of my heritage. So this dilemma had been with me for over a year, and a few weeks ago, I knew I needed to return the arrowhead to someone with Indigenous ancestry, though I didn't know who I was going to give it to. Before I did that, I decided I should probably verify that it was an arrowhead. So I took pictures and sent my query to an archaeologist at Old York Museums, and here's the answer I received. Hi, Hilary. I don't see any evidence that this stone has been modified by people into a tool. It's, I know, 43 years of, anyway, I just think it's an unusual shaped stone. I have a background in archaeology and have seen a lot of stone tools. Sorry to disappoint. So I was disappointed. I had worked hard over the last year trying to discern what action my heart was leading me to take. I had finally embraced the idea of letting go of something I highly valued, and it felt good to have landed on a result that I could live with. And though this story ended in an unexpected way, I believe that I'm not at the end of the story, that I'm in the evolving middle of it, that my desire to live in right relations with the ancestors of the original inhabitants of this land will continue to challenge me, confuse me, and ultimately open my heart. But most importantly, it will help bring about justice to the Indigenous peoples of this land. Thank you. Please rise as you are able for our opening music. Number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open.
I know this rose will open. I know this I know this rose will open.
So I'd love to have all of the kids, young folks, young kids at heart. I like to read you a story today. Come on down. And you know what? If you want to come close, I think this picture has, or this book has really beautiful pictures. So I'm going to sit here so that you guys can
me again. Okay. Now is the time in the service when you're asked to share of your financial riches so that we can support the good work of our church as it transforms the words of our mission statement into actions that strengthen our communities and promote justice for all. Last week, we heard about the origins of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. I felt deep gratitude to the people who risked their lives to live our UU principles. This month, we are sharing our Sunday collection with this organization, the UUSC, to support their work of advancing human rights internationally, defending the rights of people oppressed due to criminalization or identity. I urge you to learn more about their vital work. You may donate online, through our website, or the Vanco app, by mailed check or cash in the collection plate. Your generosity will change lives and support South Church. Your offering is now gratefully received. Thank you.
We give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Let us gather our hearts and minds in a spirit of prayer or meditation with these words adapted from the poet Joy Harjo. In the face of all that is happening in our world, wars, violence, people malnourished and suffering, in the face of all that is happening in our lives, the hard and the beautiful, let us take in these words. Remember the sky that you were born under, and know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon and know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point in time. Remember sundown and giving away to night. Remember your birth and how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. And remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who all have their tribes, their families, and their histories too. Talk to them. Listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember, you are all people, and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember the dance that language is, that life is. Remember. Amen. Bringing our hearts to this time and to each other and to the world and all that is in this world. I invite you in a moment to light a candle, a symbol of the Spirit within and among us. Please remember, if you are going through a difficult time, I am available. Kirsten is also available, as are your pastoral associates. If you need any one of us, please fill out a card in your pew or call or email one of us or come talk to me after the service. May the lights we kindle guide us, lift us, and offer warmth to all that is among us. Let us, in this time, bring our hearts into a spirit of meditation and reflection as we sit and witness or as we participate in this outward symbol of an inward connection to that which matters most to you today. It was the summer of 2021. And I got to spend some time on the Cape. After months of being cooped up in my apartment in this just slightly post-COVID-ish time, I longed to go for a walk on the beach. It is an iconic yearning, right? The wind blowing through your hair, the distant cry of seagulls, a sense of infinity, a feeling of connection with the vastness of everything. Only ocean and horizon as far as the eye can see. So I set off early before the rest of the family was up. I had a handy map with directions to the nearest public beach. As I walked, I could smell the salts, saw houses appearing more and more sun-bleached. And then there was the parking lot and one of those little splintery wooden walkways that leads down to the unbounded shore. I'm here. I made my way down, gulping ocean air, soaking in the distant horizon, ready for a nice long walk. Shoes off, sand in my toes, turned left, and I started walking. For about 10 feet when I spotted a sign. Private beach, it said. Keep out. Okay, no worries. I turned around and walked the other way, and after about 20 feet in this direction, there was another little sign. Private beach, keep out. And then I spotted another one about 20 feet after that, and then another and another. No trespassing. Very small public beach, this. Not much room for a long walk. So I gingerly made my way back up the walkway and looked up another public beach on my phone, made my way there. Down another walkway, 10 feet to the left, hit a sign. Turned around, 20 feet to the right, another sign. Private beach, no trespassing. More signs in the distant, private beach, private beach, private beach. One after the other, as far as the eye could see. Disappointed. No iconic beach walk for me that day. I turned around and headed back toward the street. As I turned, I spotted a house up on a ledge just to my left. I could see what looked like a family having breakfast, maybe, overlooking their little beach plot. For some reason, in that moment, they looked so small. A little lonely, maybe, even a little lost, like they were missing out on something important, something vast. That memory came back to me as I was preparing for today's service on Indigenous Peoples Day, what some still call Columbus Day, when land was, quote, discovered, taken, divided up, and sold. My beachfront experience is just one tiny legacy of that very old reality. I've been learning more about that history. It was a focus of our UU General Assembly back in 2020 and a topic brought to this congregation by the Social Justice Associates just last spring. Domination Code was the name of the movie they showed. It was about something called the Doctrine of Discovery, a very old proclamation with a very long shadow. In case you missed the film, here are some highlights. The Doctrine of Discovery was a manifesto issued by the Pope in 1493, not coincidentally the year after Columbus landed on this soil. It was a legal proclamation that justified the taking of land around the world by Christian Europeans because they were Christian. It labeled Indigenous people as savages, questioning their humanity and paving the way for the unspeakable cruelty and genocide that happened here and around the world. And it wasn't just destruction of life, but also the anguishing, in this country, systematic eradication of language and culture through boarding schools, propaganda, so much more. And it set a legal precedent, serving as a foundation, I discovered, for much of U.S. real estate law that is still in practice. And it was cited as recently as 2005 in a Supreme Court decision. And it can still be cited in spite of the Vatican's finally repudiating it last year. And the attitudes and myths this doctrine propagated are very much alive as well. Like that the earth was somehow and is somehow meant to be owned and dominated. That unlimited expansion is natural and good. That the earth is here to give us whatever we want. That some people are to be respected and others are not. Attitudes that have manifested in so many ways, from centuries of American slavery and racism, as well as sexism and ableism and oppressions of all kinds, to environmental degradation, to an attitude toward our earth that is putting us all in peril. It's old, it's embedded. Change would be radical. And while we've heard more in recent years overturning those old settler hero myths, and in the meantime, the name of the holiday in question has been changed. But here's a piece I've been thinking about particularly lately. It's about those people, the ones who made that treacherous journey across the ocean, those white Europeans who landed on these shores and created all this havoc. Whether we call them heroes or the opposite, they are my cultural forebears. They are part of my cultural heritage. So I wonder, why? What drove these people? I mean, we know some of them came here for religious reasons and so on, but really, what drove them? Once they got here, healthy, well-adjusted humans are not cruel. Happy, fulfilled individuals do not steal and cheat and lie. What were they hoping to soothe or satisfy with this unfettered expansion ideal? What was going on in their insides? One theory I have appreciated is that of social scientist Resmaa Menakem, author of My Grandmother's Hands, who suggests that the unrelenting violence of the Middle Ages is what set these people up. That they were traumatized and they brought their trauma with them and played it out here. Hurt people, as the saying goes. Broken people break things, break treaties and relationships. Broken people who have not dealt with their brokenness create more brokenness around them. And that thirst to expand, to dominate, to own, that thirst for more, always more, is that a symptom of unhealed trauma? I wonder what it does to the person who carries it. And I wonder what it does to the people who inherit a culture that is steeped in it, a culture that is driving us all to the brink. We know what that drive to expand does to the people who stand in its way. And yet, there is another truth. Fragility and resilience live side by side in nature and in the human heart, and in the lived experience of Native people in this country. Though devastated by historical traumas and the oppression that continues today, Indigenous people are nevertheless still here, healing, protecting, stewarding, teaching, reclaiming who they've been and who they are, pulling back from the brink in spite of all that has been broken. It is a kind of resilient fragility that reminds me of a song by Paul McCartney called Blackbird. Some words: Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to arise. McCartney wrote it in response to the Little Rock Nine, the 9 black teenagers who, with immense courage, were the first to desegregate their high school in Little Rock, Arkansas, in spite of overwhelming pressure for them to desist. So when I heard that song recorded by Eskasoni teenager Emma Stevens, when I heard her sing it in her native Micmac tribal language, which had been almost obliterated, when I heard her speak of her pride and her feeling of connection to her roots when she sang it, I thought, this is a perfect tribute to that resilience and fragility, an expression of a unique culture and its beautiful, evocative language that is so alive in her voice. Let's listen.
Puliskin chwabanihinto Gnama sit lai jadim Del bedausen Eskamademusen Negnigem minjasen Puliskin chwabanihinto Ola bin again, mid again, Del bedausen, Eskamademusen, Negnige seyasen, Budaliskiet, Lai jasi, Don was the dig bonik bike do. Don was the dig bonik bike do. Budaliskiet schwabene hinto. Gnama sit lai jadim. Del bedausen Eskamademusen Negnigem minjasen Eskamademusen Negnigem minjasen Eskamademusen Negnigem minjasen.
How can we here at South Church, any of us who are white, how can we be part of the healing? Here at South Church, we've recently begun acknowledging whose land it is that we reside on. It's one way to remind ourselves of core truths that have become hard to see. I am glad that we're doing this. And after a few weeks of beginning services this way, I received a TikTok clip from a congregant with a wonderfully sardonic sense of humor. This clip was of a presenter introducing a theatrical production with a land acknowledgement not unlike ours, We, theater company so-and-so, want to acknowledge that land upon which we reside was originally stewarded by such and such a tribe and native nation. She names them and then continues on in this rote yet pious voice. We are also mindful of broken covenants and the need to make right with all our relations. Wrapping up with a sprightly, please enjoy the show. At which point an audience member gingerly raises her hand, clears her throat, and says, "Excuse me, ma'am, should we go? I mean, if we're on someone else's land, should we leave?" She's half out of her seat. "Oh, no, the theater's here now. We'd just like to acknowledge whose land it is." Wait, I'm so confused. If we're on someone else's land, shouldn't we do something about that? Oh, hopefully we'll enjoy the performance. Oh, so you're saying ticket sales go to Indigenous communities? No. A portion of them? No, that goes to the theater. Anyway, they continue like this until eventually the presenter ends the conversation with, "Well, let's enjoy the show," which the audience member then repeats to herself with some perplexity about how exactly to do that. Point being, offering just a land acknowledgement comes dangerously close to doing nothing at all. So, what can we do to heal ourselves, heal our world? Here's a radical thought. What if we gave it back? Can we give the land back? Stay with me now. I'm not asking you to vacate your home, but I will tell you about a friend of mine who is working on this. Her organization is called Nuns and Nuns, Nuns, N-U-N-S, as in Catholic women in a religious order, and nuns, N-O-N-E-S, as in young people who don't profess any particular faith, but in this case are deeply committed to climate justice and healing our earth. In a nutshell, my friend's organization facilitates conversations between the two with the goal of land justice. Catholic sisters whose orders are dying, whose youngest members are in their 60s, and who own precious land, have an opportunity to turn around their piece of this ancient Catholic doctrine, returning their land to the people who originally stewarded it. My friend has described it as a beautiful process of rebirth and reconnection, the passing of a torch from an older generation who have given their lives for their religious values to a younger generation who are giving their lives to the values of land restoration, justice, and healing our earth. And I think of a man who I heard years ago talk about returning a piece of his land to the indigenous people who originally stewarded it. He was an unassuming person, and I do not believe he was wealthy. It was a small property with a cabin on the Cape. I don't know the details of his situation, only that he reflected for years before he took that leap. In fact, the people receiving the land from him made a point to ask him whether he had thought through all the implications for himself. He had. Was he really ready? He was. I was impressed. I was a little awed. I still am. I thought to myself at the time, I am not ready. I didn't even own anything at the time, but I was not ready. One thing I noticed about this man was not just his unassuming nature, but a light in his eyes and a deep connection to the people around him. I got the sense he understood something that I did not. Something really vast. Not everyone is in a position to do what this man did, and not all of us are ready. But I think of what Hilary said before. What is our heart calling us to do? Maybe we're ready for something. The land back movement, which is encompassing some of these, the land back offers I just described, offers many ways to participate in this larger turning. A voluntary land tax supporting tribal efforts like mutual aid, food sovereignty, language and cultural revitalization, or looking for ways to stand in solidarity with Indigenous people fighting the environmental degradation of their lands, like we heard about in our time for all ages. But then there's the inner piece, the exploration of the history, the taking a second look at the myths we've been taught, reflecting on how you see brokenness of this heritage living among us or within you. Awareness is the first step in transformation. And when the gap between where we are and where we want to be is big, the opportunities for learning and growth are everywhere. May the past not keep us stuck, but teach us how to write a new story starting today, so that together we can right what's wrong, recreate the health of our world and its vast and beautiful possibilities, stretching as far as the eye can see. Amen. Let us join in our closing hymn, Blackbird, sung in English, which you'll find the words for in your order of service. Feel free to sing along as you feel you know the tune or as you feel moved, as Gary Fagin leads us in this beautiful tune that speaks to all of us.
Good morning. If you know this one, please sing along. Blackbird singing in the dead of the night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you're only waiting for this moment to rise. Blackbird singing in the dead of the night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night. Into the light of the dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of the night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise. You were only waiting for this moment to rise.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I close with these words that are a Pueblo Indian prayer. Hold on to what is good, even if it's a handful of earth. Hold on to what you believe, even if it's a tree that stands by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way from here. Hold on to your life, even if it's easier to let go. Hold on to my hand, even if someday I'll be long gone away from you. Go in peace. Amen.
I invite you all to sing along with. We're singing hymn 1051 in your green hymnal, We Are. What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we're singing it a little differently than written. We're not going to repeat the part in the middle, so I got you. I'll back you up.